Hare Krishna. Please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. Never miss any updates.
नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रीमद् भगवद्गीता की श्रील प्रभुपाद की हरे कृष्णा। वेलकम टू Bhagavad-gita course. So today we are going to discuss about second chapter part B. In part A we discussed the two sections, Arjuna's doubts and Arjuna surrenders to Krishna. Then Krishna starts instructing him. After he accepts Krishna as Guru and surrenders into him. Krishna says that you are talking like a learned man, but this is not the qualities of a learned person. And then Krishna explains him Jnana Yoga, about the knowledge of soul. So on the basis of Jnana Yoga, Krishna inspires Arjuna for the fight. Now in this section, we are going to discuss three parts. In the first part, section number 3, from slokas 31 to 38. So on the basis of Karma Kanda, Krishna inspires Arjuna for the fight. He says, fight like Kshatriya on religious principles. So Kshatriyas, their prescribed duty is to fight. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudras will be there. And when I say Brahmana, Kshatriya, this is not based on birth. This is not the how current caste system is there. It is based on the qualities and their activities. In the further chapter, Krishna says, Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, by the basis of qualities and their karma activities. Okay, it is divided, not by birth. Okay, so Kshatriya's duty is to fight. So this is the religious principles for them. So they have to fight. On the basis of that you fight, O Arjuna. So Krishna also says, happy are the Kshatriyas. Even though they fight in the war, they go to heaven. And if you don't fight because you are disobeyed, disregarded your prescribed duty, so you will incur sin out of it. And also you lose reputation as a fighter. Up to now, Arjuna was praised as a great fighter. Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Arjuna, these are great fighters. So now that reputation will be lost. You will be dishonored. And that dishonor is worse than death. Okay. Up to now, many warriors are praising you. You are a great fighter. You did this, you did that, like that. Many warriors praised, and they think you left the war out of fear, and they consider you as very insignificant. And many of your enemies are waiting for the opportunity to criticize you. Now they'll get the opportunity. They describe you with very unkind words, and they scorn your ability. So, and if you die in the war, Krishna says you'll go to heaven, and if you win, you'll enjoy the unraveled kingdom. So, if you take any reason, there is no way to escape from the fight. That's what Krishna is telling. So, these Kshatriyas, they have very important role to play in the society. 4 sections are there, out of them 2 are very important. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, 4 sections. Out of them especially, Brahmanas or Kshatriyas, they have very important role to play. If they are perfect, then whole society will be peaceful and happy. It will be prosperous. You know. So they have a very important role to play. In Bhagavatam, it is described that way. So if you stop this war, then Kauravas will win. If Kauravas win, then there will be adharma everywhere. The people will suffer in their rule. So you have a very important role to play. This is what Krishna says. In the current society, this is what is happening. There are no correct Brahmanas, there are no correct Kshatriyas. That's why everywhere you see irreligiosity increasing in the society. So many crimes and then many problems people are facing because of this thing. And Krishna is telling finally in this section that, oh Arjuna, fight for the sake of fighting. So he is telling, fight for the sake of fighting. What is the meaning of this? Sake of fighting means for Krishna. Krishna wanted this fight to happen so that the burden of earth can be decreased. There are many sinful people increasing on the earth, and they are very powerful. They have great astras with them, and if they take over, people have to suffer to great extent. So for the Loka Kalyanardham, for devotees to rule the world, Krishna wanted to fight. That's the purpose. Okay? For the peace and happiness of everybody, Krishna wanted to fight. So that's why Krishna is saying here, fight for the sake of fighting. So this is the section number 3. Then we'll move on to section number 4. This is from verses 39 to 53. So this is all about Bhakti Yoga. Krishna is going to tell in this section that how a person can work without attachment to result. So without attachment to result also people can work. And that is the way to work actually. So that he is explaining here. So here it is the word used is Buddhi Yoga. Both Buddhi Yoga, Bhakti Yoga are same. There is no difference between them. So on the basis of this yoga, Krishna is telling why Arjuna has to fight. So this is all about Bhakti Yoga. Very nicely Krishna highlights the Bhakti Yoga here. Neha Bhikkama Nasosti Pratyavayo Nevidyate Swalpam Apyasya Trayate Mahato Bayat. A little advancement on this path can protect one from most danger type of fear. Little advancement also. It protects one from greatest dangers. So what are the greatest dangers? The greatest danger is to falling back again into lost pieces of life, animals, plants. Okay. So this, from this one can be saved even by little progress in this Bhakti Yoga. There is no loss or diminution. Whatever you performed, it will not be lost. It will remain permanently. That's why Krishna is assuring here. And the most important sloka number 41 of second chapter. All of you can please open Bhagavad Gita book. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bhavishyakanantascha buddhayo avyavasayinam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose. Their aim is one. O beloved child of Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched. That means who are in the path of Bhakti Yoga, they are resolute in purpose. That means very strong in the determination. And their aim is only one. There are no multiple aims. Was that aim? To attain Krishna. This is the devotee's aim. Attain Krishna. They have so much faith in the process of Bhakti Yoga and the Krishna consciousness, that at any cost, by following Krishna consciousness, they'll attain Krishna. This mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudur Nishchayaha Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krutahaya. Which means here, faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. The devotees will be having unflinching faith on Krishna, on the process of Krishna consciousness. When one is engaged in duties of Krishna, he need not act in relationship to material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity and nationality. Okay. So they are not bound to anything. Okay, so that is the great faith, they'll be having in the process of Krishna consciousness, and their aim is only Krishna, and they'll attain by practicing it seriously. So that is how devotees should be. And but people who are attached to flowery words of Vedas, some people, they are attached to flowery words of Vedas. The flowery words of Vedas means Vedas tell you do this yajna, you will get some money. You do this yajna, you will get this power. Some people perform yajnas for money and power. Okay, that is possible. That is not impossible. There are some practices there like that. But their goal of life is sense enjoyment, not to attain Krishna. Some people practice Vedas, they read Vedas, all these things to attain some material benefits. Okay. So here for them, Krishna addressing them as men of small knowledge. What is the exact word Krishna is using here? Men with poor fund of knowledge. Avipaschitaha. This is the word. Okay. So we should not practice spirituality for some material benefits. We should practice spirituality for pure devotion. The pure devotion means for the satisfaction of the Lord, not for my gain, not for my sense gratification, not for material benefits. I am practicing bhakti to satisfy Lord, to please Lord. Okay, this is called pure devotion. This is very surprising to many people. Up to now, we were told you go to temple and worship Lord to pass an exam, to get job, to get some money, to get some good wife, good husband. Okay, that's what we taught. That is not actually pure devotion. The pure devotion is without any selfish motive, just for the pleasure of Lord. That's what pure devotees used to practice. Prahlad Maharaj, Narada, Dhruva Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, Radharani. So pure devotees, they used to practice bhakti like that. That's called pure devotion. Okay. So if you practice spirituality for material benefits, their mind will be always towards sense gratification and enjoyment, and then all these things. So their goal is only sense enjoyment and material opulence. For this kind of people, that Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi means I described resolute in purpose. Their aim is only one. That's called Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Okay. So that kind of Buddhi they cannot attain if one is having attraction towards sense enjoyment and material opulence. So this one has to give up. This is what Krishna is telling. This what is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means not for practicing our selfish motive, for pleasing Krishna. And Krishna tells here, Traigunya Vishya Veda, you become transcendental to these three modes. And all the purpose of Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So Krishna is telling that, try to understand the purpose of Vedas. If you understand the purpose, then the purpose of all Vedas can be served. So what the purpose behind all the Vedas? That is self-realization. What is self-realization? Self-realization means three things. In the science of self-realization, Prabhupada says, first thing is understanding who are we, and understanding who is God, and third thing is establishing relation between the both. This is called self-realization. That means finally to attain Krishna. That is the purpose of all the Vedas. So if you understand the purpose, then you understood all the Vedas. And one more important sloka is a very famous sloka. Many people quote this. Krishna in the 2.47, sloka number 47 of second chapter. Karmanyevadikarastha ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalheturbhur mate sangotsva karmani. He is proposing an interesting principle here. You have right to perform your duty, but you are not entitled to fruits of action. That means do your duty, but don't get attached to fruits of action. Never consider yourself to be cause of the results of your activities. Never be attached to not doing your duty. So Krishna is asking us to perform duty without attachment results. Then you'll not get disappointed, you'll not get frustrated in doing any work. Many people, if they don't get good marks in the exams, they get depressed. Some people commit suicide also. We see this kind of incidences. Okay, because war attachment to result. At any cost, I should get some 80 marks, 90 marks, or 100 marks. Okay, so because of that, when they don't get, their expectation shatters. They become depressed, and it leads to any extent also. On the other hand, Krishna is telling you do duty as duty. Don't get attached to result. This is what Krishna is telling. If you understand this principle correctly, then we will be successful in our works. We will not get any disappointments. With great enthusiasm, day by day, you can perform our work. Then Krishna says, perform your duty equipoised. In performing duty, sometimes you may get success, you may get failure, you may get happiness, you may get distress. Okay, but you had to perform your duty equipoised to all this kind of dualities of life. This is called yoga. And those who want to enjoy fruits of their work are misers. Very strong word Krishna is using here, misers. Misers means Pisnugotuvadu, or in Hindi, what do you say, kanjus. Who are the kanjus people? They have lot of money with them, crores of money, but they don't even spend 1 rupee. To food also they will eat very limited. They got all this money to enjoy life, but they don't enjoy also. They'll keep like that only, and they'll die for one fine day. So people who try to enjoy the results of work are called misers. Why Krishna is using the word misers here? Because our property is this human form of life. This human form of life is a great opportunity to understand and attain the Lord. But we are not utilizing this opportunity. We are keeping as a storeroom, we kept everything, all those things. But you are not utilizing the opportunity. Simply for small things you are craving. I should get this, I should get material benefit, this material benefit. Okay. So that's why Krishna is telling they are called misers. So Krishna is telling Arjuna to understand and become perfect in this art of work. How to perform your duty, Krishna is telling, you become perfect. This is called art of work. So many people say work is worship and duty is God, karmihi dharma hai. So like that many people say. But people doesn't know exact meaning of this. That work becomes worship, that duty becomes God, that karma becomes dharma only when that work is connected to God. If that is God's work, simply you work for your sanskarification. Say one person is the software engineer. He worked hard whole month, and then he got some 50,000 or 1 lakh rupees. With that, he went to bar and enjoy his drinking and smoking, all these things. Does his work becomes worship? It doesn't become worship. His object of worship is senses. His object of worship is that wine bottle and cigarettes only, not the Lord. That work never becomes worship. Okay. If the result is to enjoy ourselves selfishly, then that work never becomes worship. If that work is purely connected to God, if it's God's work, then that word becomes worship. Okay. So we should carefully use this word, this phrases. Work is worship means duty is God. They have great meaning in that. So by working like this, many people work like this and attain perfection also. Who are those? Krishna is telling, by working like this, great sages and devotees free themselves from birth and death. We are in this cycle of birth and death, Janma, Mrityu cycle we are in. Okay. So by working like this, they could come out of the cycle totally and attain Vaikuntha. This is the secret. So if you work in Bhakti Yoga, if you work for only for satisfaction of Krishna without attachment result, then that work liberates you. That's called devotional service. That's called devotion, that liberates you. Okay, then that person become indifferent to any kind of regulations of Vedas. He becomes above Vedas. He no need to follow Vedic regulations also. When he attains that stage, okay, so that's why he becomes perfect in the Bhakti Yoga. Next section. This is the final section of the second chapter from verses 54 to 72. This is mainly about Sthita Prajna. Sthita Prajna means self-realized person. So Arjuna asks what are symptoms of self-realized person, Sthita Prajna, and Krishna describes. In the sloka number 54, Arjuna asks, Arjuna uvacha Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadi kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Arjuna said, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? What is his language? How does he sit? And how does he walk? So basically Arjuna wants to know, the behavior, the characteristics of Sthita Prajna. And wonderfully Krishna describes in total 12 ways. Krishna explains what are the characteristics of Sthita Prajna. Mainly Krishna stresses here sense gratification. Who controls the senses? He is called Sthita Prajna, Krishna says. So first thing, who gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification? He is called Sthita Prajna, Krishna mentions in sloka number 55. And second thing, one who is not disturbed in mind even midst the threefold miseries. That means threefold miseries means in this material world, every jiva, every human being goes through three kinds of miseries: Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika. That means difficulties due to mind, our own mind, difficulties due to other living entities, and difficulties due to nature. Okay, like we are going through Corona now. This is one kind of difficulty. Somebody will come and fight with us. There's one more difficulty. Sometimes because of our thinking, we create problems for ourselves. That is one more kind of problems. Okay, so these everybody goes through. So one who is not disturbed with any of these three-fold miseries, he is Sthita Prajna, Krishna mentions. And third, one who is not elated when there is happiness. When there is happiness, some people will go to cloud 9. We'll see some flying also. Okay, this is not the case with Sthita Prajna. He is equilibrium. He is stable. Fourth one who is free from attachment. People attachment to some people, some other people, some animals, some items. Okay, so from all these kinds of attachments will come out. He is called Sthita Prajna. Then fifth, one who is free from fear. He is not all fearful to anybody, any situation. So one who is devotee of Narayana or Krishna is not fearful. Na kutaschana bibhyati. He is fearless. Just like Prabhupada, fearlessly he went and then Vaishnava he preached. This is the quality of the pure devotees. He is Sthita Prajna, self-realized soul. And who is free from anger? He doesn't show uncontrolled angers. Dutifully, one may have to show anger, but uncontrolled angers we should avoid. The difference between dutiful anger and uncontrolled angers. A father becomes angry on the child, a mother becomes angry on the child, a teacher becomes angry on the student, or a boss becomes angry on the employee. This is not wrong anger. Okay, it is dutifully they have to get the things done. Or uncontrolled, if he becomes angry and then jump up and down, that has to be avoided. And Sthita Prajna is totally free from all this kind of uncontrolled angers. Then seventh one, he is unaffected by whether good or evil. He is not disturbed. Whether good or bad, he is not disturbed. And eighth one who neither praises or despises. If any good thing comes, some people praise so much, others they praise so much. Some people they chastise. Okay, both the things he will not do. He is Sthita Prajna. Ninth, One who is able to withdraw his senses from some subject as tortoise. Like tortoise, if any danger comes, it takes away all the four legs inside that shell. It has control over everything like that. Nobody can do anything to that tortoise. Similarly, the Sthita Prajna, self-realized soul, can able to control his senses. Control is with him, not the sense objects, not with other persons or other situations. Control is there with him. Then 10th one who restricts sense enjoyment by experiencing higher taste. This concept I will explain more detail about sense gratification. Just I will read out here for your understanding. So one who restrains his senses by experiencing higher taste. 11th one who restrains his senses by fixing his consciousness upon the Lord. And final 12th one whose senses are restrained from their objects is certainly is of steady intelligence. So in 12 slokas, Krishna explains the characteristics of Sthita Prajna. If you see, most of the places Krishna is highlighting about sense control. So why this sense control Krishna is mentioning again and again, how it is creating harm to us, how it is degrading us. Krishna very clearly, systematically explains in some slokas, from slokas 2.62 to 63, Krishna mentioned this process. Before that, so whole world is working on the principle of sense gratification. Because of this, they are totally forgetting the purpose of life. We have TVs, we have fridges, we have cinema theaters, pubs, and so much technology advancement. Whole world is functioning on the principle maximum sense gratification for maximum people. That's it. The purpose of civilization is not to understand God, is not to attain ultimate goal of life. The goal is only sense gratification. Maximum sense gratification for maximum people. This is the principle. Whether you take America or India or China, whatever, all the people, all the countries working on this principle only. So when you are attached to sense gratification, you will be in the material platform only. You will not try to understand the Supreme God. So this is the danger. And because of this, sometimes they face serious consequences also. Say some person who is drinking, a drunkard is there. For sense gratification, he will drink so much. And then he develops health problems. And many people die miserably because of that. And the whole family suffer. They'll take away, they steal the money from others, from the family members, everybody. They degrade themselves like that. So this of sense gratification is spoiling us. He may be very grossly attached to drinking. We are also attached to many things: money, people, name and fame, honor. Like this, we are also attached to. This is all sense gratification only. Okay, so we need to come out to lead a peaceful, happy life. So how this is working, Krishna is explaining in the slokas 2.62 to 63. All of you can please open. Dhyayato vishyan pumsan sangas teshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kaman kamat krodho vijayate krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhramaha smriti vibhramsat buddhinasho buddhinasha pranashyati. So first it starts with the contemplation of sense object existence. For suppose many of your young people, I will take the case of your young people only. One day, one boy goes outside and then he will see one girl. He is normal only. But as soon as he sees, he thinks she is from heaven, very beautiful. I never seen such a beautiful girl up to now in my life. And he starts thinking. That thinking will be not once or twice. Again, so much. That's called contemplation. Contemplation of senses. Object of senses. Okay. Senses means we have 5 senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Sense object means like eyes want to see beautiful pictures. That is sense object. Tongue want to eat some foods, gulab jamun. That gulab jamun is sense object. Okay. So contemplation sense objects. We think again and again so much all these things. Once, twice you think not a problem. But whole day of thinking means you'll develop attachment to it. Sangat sanjayate dhyato vishan pumsa sangas teshu pajayate. Okay, you'll develop attachment to it. Then sangat sanjayate kaman, it turns to next stage, kama. Kama means strong desire. This kama means it may be towards one person, it may be towards one object also. Like mobile, if you are too much attached to mobile, you have kama towards mobile, strong desire towards mobile. Okay, so it comes to first stage is contemplation sense objects, then attachment to it, then lust. Okay, then kamat krodho vijayate. If the lust is not satisfied, then you will become angry. Somebody takes your mobile. If the girl doesn't agree to your proposal, or if you see somebody else is proposing to your girl, you will become very angry. Fire. Okay, then krodhat bhavati sammohaha, which means from that anger you develop delusion. That means you cannot able to, you are under a kind of illusion totally. What is happening when you become angry, you cannot see the situations clearly. You will not be knowing what you are doing also. Then from that delusion you develop bewilderment of memory. You will forget who is that girl or whatever, you will forget everything. Then intelligence is lost. After the loss of memory, you lost the intelligence. Intelligence means ability to decide what is good and what is bad. In the situation, you will not be knowing what is good, what is bad also. You will forget totally all those things. Then fall down. Buddhinasha panashyati. You will totally fall down. What kind of activities you do, where people doesn't know, and they will do whatever they want, and then that leads to their fall down totally. So this is how sense enjoyment, sense gratification is making us fall down in our life. People who are control their senses, they are the winners. They are the successful people. If you see any toppers of the class as successful people, they control themselves in some aspects. May not be everything like yogis, but to some extent they controlled, sense control they have done. That's why they are successful in their life. But people who unrestrictedly enjoy senses, they will be losers. They will totally fall down from their life. If you don't practice correct sense control, even though you may achieve success in the life, you will fall down. This is the danger of sense gratification. So that's why Krishna is telling, for the devotees especially, they have to practice the sense control. So that's why Krishna is telling, devotees should control their senses like a tortoise. Tortoise will be having control of the legs. It takes away whenever any danger comes. Similarly, the devotees have to control the senses when anything is disturbing them. When they are facing anything, they should be able to control their senses. These senses are so powerful, they are like a forcible wind. When the forcible wind comes, the boat will be taken away by wind. You see in the videos, in America especially, typhoons will come. These typhoons are so powerful that they take away human beings, cars and houses also. Big buildings will be taken away. That's the force of wind. That is the power of the senses. If you don't control, if you leave it, they will become very, very powerful. And these senses forcibly carry away the mind. Even a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them, they are so much powerful. Okay, we should be careful with the senses. We cannot allow them to take whatever they want. If they take whatever they want, they will become very powerful like this. Just like if you give nice milk to snake, it will take and then suddenly it will become very powerful and will bite you. This is what happens with the sense gratification. So devotees should learn to control and not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires. So many desires will come when you go outside. You will see some beautiful dresses, beautiful cars, beautiful bikes, beautiful many foods like that, many things you will see. But devotees should learn to not to get disturbed by incessant flow of desires. Then he will be peaceful. Not the person who craves after this, beauties of outside world, material beauties of outside world. who craves for desires, he'll not be peaceful in the life. So how to, now understood all these things about sense gratification. Now how to control? Is it like I have to stop seeing everything, I have to stop hearing everything, I have to stop eating? So how you do sense control? Generally yogis do like that, but sense are so powerful, sometimes they'll break out, just like pressure cooker is there. If you stop pressure continuously, what will happen? The lid will break out. Once it happened in our kitchen in home once. So if you suppress the senses, it will come out like that. So there's artificial way of controlling the senses. That's very difficult process also. Many rishis have tried like that, but they failed also. Saubhara Muni is the best example. Saubhara Muni wants to control senses like that, so he's getting disturbed. He goes inside the water and does tapasya, so that no disturbance will come. Then in the water he sees two fishes mating with each other. So with that he gets disturbed with the lusty desires, and he goes to one king and he marries all the daughters of the king. Okay, so this is a very artificial way. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, sloka number 59, what is the best way, the secret to control the senses? Vishya vinvartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavabjam rasopyasya param dushta nivartate. He says, embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste of sense object remains. So if you artificially control senses like that, still the taste of sense objects remains. If you control senses strongly, still the taste of the senses remains. Okay. So how to change the taste? How to control the taste of the senses? By experiencing a higher taste. Param drushta nivartate. If you develop higher taste, then you give up the lower tastes. This is the way to control, not suppressing them. Just like in the childhood, children play with the cars, toy cars. But after they grow up, they'll not be craving for all those toy cars, because they'll be using big cars. Some person is using sugar, he is eating sugar and enjoying. If you give him gulab jamun, will he eat sugar? He'll just leave it and then take gulab jamun, because they develop the higher taste of it. Similarly, in the life also, we are craving for many material sense enjoyments. The way to control that is developing higher taste. What that higher taste? The higher taste is always connected to Krishna, connected to Supreme Lord. So, if in connection to Lord, if you develop the taste, then you give the lower tastes. So, just like devotees develop the higher taste. If you understand this, how they develop higher taste towards the Lord, and how they conquered their senses, it will help for us also. So there is one great devotee by name Ambarish Maharaj. In Bhagavatam it is mentioned how he developed higher taste connected to Lord and gave up the lower tastes. We have many senses. One of the senses is mind, the sixth sense. King Ambarisha focused his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. So mind and focusing on Krishna. By this we can able to conquer the mind. By focusing on the Lord we can conquer. And one more sense is tongue. We want to speak. With the tongue two things happens, speaking and eating. Okay. So generally we want to speak all gramyakata, which means gossips. So use the words in describing the abode of Lord, the glory of the Lord, and then hands in cleansing temple of the Lord, and ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, beautiful leelas of the Lord of Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, beautiful leelas are there, by hearing the leelas of the Lord, and his eyes by seeing the form of Lord. In our temple, ISKCON temples, if you come, you can see beautiful decoration of Radha and Krishna. By see, if you see, you'll get mesmerized, and you'll forget the outside attractions also. Okay, that much beautiful, decoration will be there, and it's possible to, develop taste for it. And then eating only prasadam. So this way, we want to eat many things, Chinese foods, fast foods, and many things, and spoil our health also. Okay, non-veg also, this kind of foods. So if you develop taste for prasadam, especially ISKCON temples, there are varieties of prasadams will be there. Our regulation is that we'll take only prasadam, no outside food, the food which is offered to Lord, that's it. So that will help us to come out of attractions from all outside foods. Going to restaurants and spending thousands of rupees and spoiling our health, what they put we don't know, and eating non-veg, killing so many animals, and all kind of sinful activities you can come out just by taking the determination that I'll eat only prasadam. Okay, so by practicing like this, you can develop higher taste. You don't eat anything. Devotees can practice, can achieve by practice. Okay, so by developing higher taste like this, then you can conquer the lower tastes. You can control your senses totally. Just like we have 1 crore rupees of money, you can conquer all the problems of 1,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees. Say if you have 1 lakh rupees loan, easily solved over. Where is 1 crore? Where is 1 lakh? Okay, so you should strive for having 1 crore. You should strive for having taste for higher taste. That's the goal of life. That is a way to conquer the senses. So in this way, we can conquer senses. So like this, one who has given up desire for sense gratification and free from all desires, sense of proprietorship and false ego can alone attain peace. That's the conclusion. Okay. So who controls senses like this can attain peace in the life. And he is the one eligible to go back to Godhead. If this kind of consciousness he maintains at the point of death, then he is eligible to go back to Godhead. Okay, so that is this second chapter, contents of Gita summarized. And tomorrow you will be hearing about Karma Yoga. There is one more famous yoga. What is Karma Yoga and how to practice it, you will understand in the coming session. Hare Krishna.